Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money. With your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey everybody, it's Tom here with episode 118 of Screw the Commute podcast. Today we're going to talk about broadcast email. And folks, this is where the big money is. So make sure you pay attention to this one. Now, our last episode was 117, Gina St. George. She's an expert at systems, which allowed both her and her business owner significant other to both leave their businesses to take a trip to China, and their businesses were fully functioning while they were gone. So don't miss her episode. That's Gina St. George. Now help me out here, folks. My school got approved by the Department of Defense to be in their scholarship program for military spouses. Now, if you know anyone in the military, I'd like to talk to them about best ways to let military spouses know about the opportunity. I'm not going to hammer your friends to join. I just need some insights on getting the word out. So a military spouse is already in the system and could probably help me out. So I appreciate that. Now, I've got a big freebie to thank you for not only doing that, but for listening to the podcast. It's my $27 ebook, How to Automate Your Business. And just one of the tips in this ebook has saved me over 7 million keystrokes, and it was a couple years ago when we figured that out, so I'm sure it's way more. And I have something else over there I think you'll like. So visit screwthecommute.com/automate-free, screwthecommute.com/automate-free, and I got 2 really great freebies. One's a surprise. Now, our podcast app is in the iTunes store, and you can go to screwthecommute.com/app, A-P-P, where we have complete instructions to show you how to use all the fancy features so you can take us with you on the road, and you can put it on your cell phone and tablet and capture all your favorite episodes so you can listen to them again. Does all kinds of good stuff, and we have instructions on how to use it over there at screwthecommute.com/app. And if you're over at iTunes, please leave us a review and a rating. It really helps out the show. And tell your friends. I mean, tell one friend about this podcast who you know is interested in starting a business or improving their business. And I swear they're going to thank you for it. And, of course, the more successful the show is, the more freebies I can give out to you faithful listeners. Now, our youth program is in full swing. We're looking for young people that are doing entrepreneurial things. And when I say young, that's up to about early 20s. If they're older than that, then maybe they'd be a candidate for our regular podcast. So if you know anyone, they can get in touch with me at orders@antion.com to see how they could possibly be featured on an episode, a special episode of Screw the Commute, Special Youth Edition. Now, our sponsor this week is me. Hey, surprise, surprise. The Internet Marketing Retreat and Joint Venture Program, where myself and my staff work with you for a year to either get you started in an internet business or to use the internet to take your existing business to the next level. And I'll tell you more about that later. The details are going to be at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com, greatinternetmarketingtraining.com. And, of course, we'll have it in the show notes at screwthecommute.com. And whenever you're trying to find an episode, this is episode 118. So if you go screwthecommute.com/118, it'll take you right to that episode. All right, let's get to the main event. Broadcast email, folks. This is where the money is. Now, the first thing I want to make sure you know is the difference between broadcast email and autoresponder email. Now, they're both email. The major difference is that in a broadcast email, you decide when, what, and to whom you're going to send it. In other words, you just decide to send it, you write it, and you send it. Done. Now, for autoresponders, yes, they are email, but they are always triggered by somebody else. Most of the time, someone fills out a form by putting in their email address and maybe their name, and that triggers the autoresponder. Now, you don't see much of it anymore, but most autoresponders can be triggered also by sending an email to a specific email address. You don't see that too much anymore, though. Frequently, we use autoresponders to make e-courses, which I'll talk a little bit about later. This episode's main focus is broadcast email. Now, another thing this episode is not about list building. I'll have other episodes about that. It's about making the most of the list you have. And even if you don't have much of one, we do a whole episode on joint venturing, which I think I did. I can't remember the number, but if you look back through the episodes, it shows you how to get somebody to put you on the map like almost overnight. So check out the back episodes for that. And I'll have Larry put it in the show notes for you if you don't want to search through all the other back episodes. All right, regular newsletter or random, timing on it or both. Well, let's talk about the forms of broadcast email. I started out with a newsletter called Great Speaking, which was directed towards professional public speakers. Now, this was a long time ago, folks. My mindset didn't support a regular output of these newsletters on a certain day every week. I just put it out whenever I had enough to say. I'm just more of a random guy. I refuse to be held to a certain schedule. Now, with this podcast, I learned that having a regular schedule grows your audience faster. So the thing is, you get to choose whether you send out your newsletter on a regular schedule or not. I'm going to suggest, after doing this all this time and looking back, that you should pick a set schedule. I made a fortune not doing it, but I think it's probably better that you do. And that's if you feel like doing a newsletter at all. You don't have to make money with email. To make money and grow your list, you do have to give value in some way, whether it's a regular newsletter or not. If you're going to do a newsletter, make sure you give lots of value, but absolutely, give the people a chance to buy something. Nobody will complain about what we call a 90-10 ratio. In other words, 90% content and 10% promotion. Hey, if they do complain, just get rid of them. You're trying to make a living, and someone's always looking to be offended. And these are not people you want on your list. So I sent out my newsletter in a random fashion, and I also sent out solo emails with promotion only. That's what a solo email is. It's all about one thing. That's why they call it solo. And again, if people complain, let them unsubscribe. I run into this problem all the time when someone has attracted only freebie seekers to their list because they never ask them to buy anything. Then they wonder why they get complaints when they do offer something to buy. If you're new at this, start off offering things to buy right off the bat. If you're like the people I just mentioned who have built themselves a list of freebie seekers, be prepared for some bitchy people. Now, if you want to make money at this, it should be obvious to you that you must offer people something to buy. If you can't handle that, well, then maybe you shouldn't be an entrepreneur. And I'm not trying to be mean here. Money pays your bills and gives you the freedom to do the things you want. If you refuse to ask for it or get someone else to ask for it on your behalf, you're going to have a hard time being in business. All right, let's talk about frequency. Here's a rule of thumb. The more email you send, the more money you will make, up to a point, okay? I can tell you for sure, once a week is not enough. If you're lucky, that only gives you about 50 contacts with your target audience in the course of a whole year. I can't tell you how many times is right for you, but in all my experience, I would say the bare minimum would be 3 times a week. That would give you 150 contacts with people over the course of a year. You have to decide how much makes sense for your audience. I teach my students to send more than they are comfortable with and watch the complaint and unsubscribe rate. But like I said above, if you've conditioned your people to just suck free stuff from you, you have to turn that train around, right? You will most likely have a few derailments along the way with some bitchy people complaining. But you cannot let a few bitchy people run your business. You want to find the people that love to hear from you and get rid of the ones that don't. And let me let you in on a secret here. When even though after all these years, 25 years of emailing, whenever I see somebody unsubscribe, under my breath, and nobody hears it, just me in my mind, I'm like, you stupid, I'm calling them every rotten name I can think of, you dumb. Because I know they're so, I don't know if they're stupid or not, all right, but I know that my value is just so enormous compared to whatever else is out on the marketplace. But they're just surrounded and ignorant to it. They have no idea, So one person said, I'm not getting any value out of this. Well, are you sleeping? Are you on drugs? Are you just a freaking moron? I mean, I gave like enormous stuff that would cost them tens of thousands to learn for free on like a Facebook Live series. And I didn't get any value. Well, you're a moron. How about that? Why don't you look in the mirror a little bit? See, so that's the kind of stuff I think. Of course, I don't say it, and I'm of course revealing it here. But that's the way you really got to think. You got to love your stuff, give super value, and feel that. Now, it is part of the deal that people are going to unsubscribe. So I don't say that to them unless they give me a bunch of guff. I give it back to them 10 times. All right. But if they just unsubscribe, go goodbye, go work at, Burger King. I don't care. I can teach you to be rich and you're too stupid to realize it. So I can't help you there. So I know that was a little bit of a rant, but that's the way I feel when it's too stupid to see the value I provide when I sit here 7 days a week, holidays and everything, helping people. And most of the people they're giving money to won't even talk to them at all, So, all right, enough rant. All right. So the next thing I want to talk about is the length of your emails. The trend is a shorter email leading the reader to click through to your website or blog. Now, the longer the email, the more chance the email will get caught in a spam filter. And by the way, you must listen to episode 115 on spam control. So that's screwthecommute.com/115. I mean, it covers 3 types of spam control you must know about. It's really in conjunction with this broadcast email episode that I'm doing today. All right. Anyway, the reason we want shorter emails is twofold. One, obviously because of short attention spans and email overload in your readers. But just as important is the fact that the more words you put in an email, the greater chance your email will get caught in the spam filter. And something you write that seems innocent to you might look like spam to a spam filter that sees literally 1 billion emails an hour, all right? So keep them short and make sure you listen carefully and implement what I talked about in episode 115 so you get your emails through. All right. Now, another reason that we want short emails is that we want them to click through to your website where you can show them all kinds of stuff. And more visits to your website or blog makes it look more popular to the search engines. And this is good for you. All right. Now let's talk about delivery rates. This is what percentage of emails that you send get through to the email system of the recipient. It doesn't mean it's in their inbox yet because they can filter their emails in most email systems to catch emails they don't want. But delivery rates are in part due to spam control and what you say in the email, but it also has to do with your email broadcast service. This is not where you go with free and cheap. And I'm totally in favor of free and cheap when it is good, but this ain't it. All right, so why shouldn't you go with free and cheap in this field? Because all the spammers use these services And if you're on the same IP address as them, your good emails won't get through. And I went in great depth into this on episode 115. Again, this episode is so you can make more money with the emails that you're sending. But if they don't get through, you're still screwed. So make sure you use this in conjunction with episode 115. But you don't want to be seen as a spammer because a bunch of other spammers are on the cheapo free system that you decided to use because you didn't know any better. All right, now let's look at open rates. Now, let's say you make it all the way into the inbox of the recipient. The number one determinant, and most people get this wrong when I ask them, that keeps your email from getting deleted immediately, listen to this, is if the recipient recognizes you as the sender. Nothing you do matters if your email gets deleted instantly upon arrival. So keep it consistent and make sure they recognize you, the sender. Maybe you use your personal name. Maybe you use your business name. I can't say which is better for you there, but just keep it consistent. Now, the next most important piece of copy you will ever write is the subject line of your email. It doesn't matter how great your product is. It doesn't matter how great your sales letter is. It doesn't matter how great the body of your email is to get people to click through to the sales letter. None of this matters. And all your work is down the tubes if they don't open the email. The subject line is the number one thing that gets your email opened. Now, I told you who it's from keeps it from getting deleted, but the subject line is what gets it opened. Now, I suggest the subject line is 50 characters or less, including spaces. And whenever possible, put the most important stuff to the left, or it could get cut off in the recipient's email program. And when I say cut off, I don't mean it's totally gone. I mean the person skimming through their emails probably won't see it. See, I counted up the characters I can see in my email program, and it's only 36. So you really have to pay attention to keeping your subject lines short. Now, I like to characterize subject lines as clear or curious. Clear or curious. Clear means it tells you exactly what the email is about. Here's an example. Tonight, Facebook Live marketing training. And that was about 40 characters. And it told you exactly what's up. Now, here's one that creates curiosity. In fact, it was one of the biggest open rates I ever had, ever. Boy, did I get in trouble. Okay? People wonder, what the heck did Tom do now? And they have to open the email to find out. The curiosity effect is called the Zeigarnik technique. That's Zeigarnik. I talk about this extensively in my copywriting901.com course. Bluma Zeigarnik was a Russian psychologist and psychiatrist who discovered the principle of the human mind that it cannot stand unfulfilled curiosity. And this technique is used all the time. They use it in the news all the time. They tease you about a story coming up in the next segment, and it doesn't really come up till the end of the show to keep you watching. I even know about this, and I couldn't help it or fight it off. I was doing a speech in Los Angeles a long time ago, and I'm in my hotel room getting ready. And the news was on the TV, and the anchor person comes on and says, "Guess who Britney kissed? We'll tell you in the next segment." And I think this was about the time when they had all that brouhaha about her kissing Madonna on stage. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't care about Britney Spears. I wonder who it was. I couldn't help it. So I'm taking my good old time putting on my tie and getting ready, and the next segment goes by, and the next segment goes by, and it goes clear to the end of the news when they reveal it was that guy she married for about 12 hours in Vegas. They sucked me in so deep I was almost late for my speech. But that's the Zygarnik technique. You create curiosity and it makes people open your emails and click through. See, it's used in the subject line to get people to open the email, and it's used in the body of the email to get them to click through to your website. So again, subject lines clear or curious. And one other thing I want to throw in, I've had several news directors in my program all the year of major TV stations, and they all said, "Yeah, we just lie to you. We're just going to tease to get you to keep watching and not change the channel." All right, let's talk about the best days of the week to send broadcast email. Now, in general, people say Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are best. But you can't take that as gospel. It all depends on your market. Now, the idea is that on Mondays, most people are buried sifting through spam, and on Fridays, they're looking forward to the weekend. And all this makes perfect sense, but it's not the end of the story by any means. I actually follow this idea of Tuesday through Thursday roughly, but I must tell you, I've had success on every day of the week, and I even messed up. and I threw a teleclass on Thanksgiving one time. That's pretty pitiful, isn't it? I didn't even notice it was Thanksgiving. Well, 60 other lost souls must have not noticed either, because they signed up and they spent $3,800 that day. So that's going to help your frozen turkey dinner go down a little easier if you're pitiful like me. You have to test with your market. What if you had a sports-related list and people wanted your thoughts before Sunday's game? I mean, you would have the best success sending out Sunday morning. Anyway, you have to test to see when most people want to get your email. And I can tell you that you'll never get everyone to agree. Just watch the numbers, and it doesn't hurt to take a survey of your list members and ask them. And also try odd times once in a while and see how it goes. All right, now let's look at the time of day to send your email. Well, this is a little tougher because many email broadcast services only deliver so many of your emails per hour. So if you release 1,000 emails at 10 a.m., maybe only 200 go out per hour. So your emails are sent over 5 hours, with the last batch being sent at maybe 2 or 3 p.m. You have to get a feel for your email delivery services, and they can change that at any time they want. So, I mean, some might even go as far as holding up many of your emails until their servers are less busy. And this is another reason not to cheap out on your email delivery service. All right, now with delayed delivery by your email broadcast service now on the table, you also have to consider time zones. I mean, I'm in the East Coast of the USA. If I sent out at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, that's 7 a.m. Pacific Time, 4 a.m. in Hawaii, 3 p.m. in the UK, and in Australia, I think it's the next day after midnight. So it's a good idea to figure out where most of your people are and accommodate them most of the time. If your promotion is not time sensitive, like when you're sending out a sales letter they can read anytime, or a newsletter, well, your subscribers in different time zones can read it when it's convenient for them. If you have deadlines in your sales letter, make sure you specify the time zone you are referring to on the deadline and send it out at least 12 hours in advance so the bulk of the people all around the world have a chance to see it. Now, if your promotion is, let's say, a webinar with a specific time you're going to do it live, you really have to decide what time it's going to be to have the most chance of people actually showing up. And this is a little controversial, but I usually make a big deal to tell people to register anyway, even if they can't make the live webinar, so they get notice of the replay. Some people pretend like there's not going to be a replay to force you to try to sign up, and then they do a replay anyway. A little bit, deceptive. Another thing I might do is specifically set a time for my webinar where I know a group of people, let's say from the UK, can attend easily. Or I might do another one at an odd time to take care of people in Australia and New Zealand. Now, while I'm on the topic of webinars, I wrote an entire ebook on how to get more people to actually show up for your webinars. We'll have a link in the show notes for that. Now, anyway, to make the most money, you must pay attention to time zones, and just like days of the week, don't be afraid to do an oddball time and see what happens. You might be pleasantly surprised. All right, now let's get into some of the mechanics of broadcast email. I thoroughly discussed single opt-in versus double opt-in in my spam control episode 115, which again, I highly recommend you listen to if you're serious about doing well with broadcast email. All right, now let's talk about text versus HTML email. Text email is just plain text. There is no bold, italic, underlining, color, graphics, pictures. It's just plain text. And for 25 years, I have preached this as the only way top marketers are sending out email. And I had plenty of good reasons, which don't matter much anymore, but I will tell you a couple of them here in a minute that do matter. But plain text was the bomb for top marketers. And yes, you would see plenty of people sending out fancy emails because they didn't know any better. And I would get challenged all the time by people saying, well, so-and-so big celebrity uses fancy HTML email, and I want to be like them. Well, the flaw in that thinking is that big celebrities didn't become a big celebrity and count on email for their living. Maybe they're pro football players or singers or TV or movie stars where it doesn't matter if they do their email perfectly. They're rich from other means. Trying to emulate their email marketing when you aren't a big name celebrity just doesn't make sense. They're still going to make $10 million on their next movie, and you aren't. HTML email does have all kinds of formatting. You can have different fonts, change the size, bold things, and make them colorful. You can put pictures and graphics and all kinds of things you can't do in plain text email. And you would think all of these things would be to your benefit. But what you probably didn't know that for all these years I've been preaching against HTML email, they are much harder to create. Many corporations didn't allow anything but plain text to hit their servers. And unless you are a pro at sending email, many of them didn't look as nice when they got received as they did when you sent it. That's because of all the different email programs looking at them when they were received. And okay, I'll admit, over those years, I would occasionally send out an HTML email for one reason and one reason only. One of the big benefits of HTML email is that you can track open rates, which you can't do in plain text. I would make sure the open rates were reasonable, and then I'd go back to plain text. But recently, I noticed my open rates were taking a dive, and I'm the same guy with the same clientele. And yes, I know there's lots of noise out there to compete with me, even though I've been doing this longer virtually than all the people currently sending email. So I've now switched to exclusively sending HTML email after 25 years preaching against it. However, I still didn't fall into the trap that many ego-driven marketers fall into. I still don't put graphics in my HTML emails. My emails are now HTML, but they resemble plain text, other than the occasional bold red text I put in to highlight something. The reason I'm doing this is because it doesn't take much longer to do a plain text HTML email. And my open rates are more important to me now than my corporate delivery rates. And heck, they've even relaxed their prohibition on HTML anyway, since server capacity is much cheaper now than it was over the past 25 years. Okay, here's something else to think about with your emails, and this still falls under the category of mechanics of sending out a broadcast email. And I'm talking about clickable links. Sometimes you have a really long, goofy link, and sometimes you have a very simple link. Well, when I have a simple link, which might be something like screwthecommute.com/automate free, I write it out using the entire https:// www www.screwthecommute.com/automate free. And here's the important part. And then I put a space after the link. I don't put a comma. I don't put a period. I don't put the link in brackets or parentheses or quotation marks. Nothing. I put a space. Virtually all email readers will see that as a link and make it clickable in your email. I like this because people that have any trouble can just type the link in their browser. It's simple. It doesn't look fishy because it's a real website in the link as opposed to a weird-looking link that scares people off. Yes, I lose a little bit of tracking ability, and if I was a totally anal bean counter, which I'm not, I would want to know which episodes of the podcast got the most people to download the free ebook. But I'm not quite that anal, right? And I'm not suggesting you shouldn't be that anal if it fits your personality, but there's only so much time in a day, and I have much more profitable things to work on than counting every single little variable in my business. Now, again, which episodes got the most downloads would be a good thing to know, but just not worth it to me in the big scheme of all my responsibilities. But what if you have a long tracking link, and we'll talk about tracking links and stuff in a future episode, or an affiliate link that's just way too long and goofy looking to put in an email? Well, goofy looking is bad enough, but if the link is too long, it's likely to break, and many people aren't tech savvy enough to copy and paste it in their browser and take out any line breaks. So to a portion of your audience, the link is useless anyway, and that's on top of it looking stupid. All right, so what do? Well, in my plain text emails, I used to use a link shortening service. I didn't really like to do this because now the link doesn't have a real looking website in it, and that builds confidence in people who I want to click it. It just looks weird. I used to use Google's link shortening service, but it's now been discontinued. So now, since I've switched to HTML email, I can embed a link under a simple text. It would be impossible to explain how to do that here, but basically you have to go into the code of the HTML email and put in the code for hyperlinking text. So you see, this is some of the hassle of HTML email, and I don't want to make you a geek, but I'm going to put an example in the show notes of what the code looks like for a link, and all you have to do is change the link and change the text that the link will be under in my example, or I guess you'd call it a template I'm giving you, and you'll have a piece of code you can just paste in the HTML section of your email. Now, I will say some HTML editors have a function to make this easy for you, so you don't have to go into the code. But since I don't know what you're using to create your email, I can't say how to do it in your system. But anyway, check the show notes for the simple link code template. All right, you probably heard about the CAN-SPAM Act. Well, I'm really not going to go into too many details on the CAN-SPAM Act, which you must comply with to keep out of trouble when sending broadcast email. A reputable email broadcast service is going to help you with this automatically by appending your contact information to every email you send, along with putting a functional unsubscribe area in every email. And a little sidebar here, if you get a spam email, I described this in episode 115 about spam control, don't click on the unsubscribe link. That just tells the spammer, who doesn't care about the CAN-SPAM Act, that you have a real email address that he can sell to his spammer buddies for more money. So don't click on it. Just delete it. My main advice is don't be deceptive with your emails and be honest with people, and the chances are slim that you'll ever have any trouble with the CAN-SPAM Act. Now, you should at least read about it and that crazy GDPR thing out of Europe, and I'll put links in the show notes where you can read about them, but just don't be scared off by people telling you that you must comply with ridiculous and outrageous rules set by pencil-pushing bureaucrats. Just do a good job and be honest, and you most likely will never have any trouble with this. All right, let me tell you about how I turned the internet marketing training world on its head around the year 2000. People like me were charging $50,000 to $100,000 up front to teach what we knew to clueless business people who refused to learn on their own. Now, I'm a small business advocate, and I knew many small businesses could never afford that kind of upfront money. So I made all those gurus mad, all right, by charging a relatively small entry fee to my program that also got a percentage of profits that was capped so you're not stuck with me forever. So for me to get my big money, you have to make way bigger money. Plus, I'm not going to disappear on you because I won't get any more money, all right? And I even went one step further, and that's never been done before. I have a big estate home and a TV studio where my students, as part of their year-long training, come and actually stay in my house for an immersion weekend, and that's just one of the unique features of this program. So check out the full details at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com, and of course I'll have it in the show notes. Love to have you as a mentee. All right, now let's talk about making money with your broadcast email. Of course, I want you selling your own products. They can be physical products, digital products, services, coaching, mentoring, all of that. But I also want you selling affiliate products. Now, you are now obligated to tell them you are an affiliate. And here's one way I do it. Now, here's an example. Hey, folks, I found this great widget, and it's done wonders for my productivity. It's so great, I decided to be an affiliate for the product. Blah, blah, blah. I tell them about the product. Okay, that's simple as that. And just to give you some extra value, like I always do, even though this episode is not about ebooks, here's how I put the notice in my ebooks in a disclaimer section or a section at the bottom of my copyright page. Here's what I would say. I'm an affiliate for some of the things I recommend in this ebook, which means I may get a commission if you buy something from some other company after clicking on my link. Well, here's what I want you to know. I've got a long-time great reputation, and you can be sure I'm not going to ruin it by recommending something to you that is junk or sold by some scammer. All right, so that's what I put in an ebook when selling affiliate stuff. All right, let's get back to making money with broadcast email. So I also use it to get people to attend webinars, teleclasses, and live events. I promote e-courses with broadcast email, even though the e-course is not technically broadcast email. And since I'm all about helping you make money, I'm going to go ahead and tell you a little bit about e-courses. First, e-courses can be paid or free. If free, I suggest delivery every day while the people are most excited. But here's not what I want you to get indelibly etched in your head. You always offer them something to buy in the e-course. Yes, you give them 90% content that they signed up for, but always give them 10% of something to buy. So here's how it plays out on, let's say, one of my e-courses, the top 10 ways to make money speaking. You can sign up for it at greatspeaking.com. So in the first email they get, I tell them all about the first way to make money speaking. That's the 90% content. Then I say something like this. Hey, if you're totally into becoming a pro speaker, check out the Wake 'em Up Video Pro Speaking System, the best-selling ever pro speaking training on the internet. And that's it. No one is ever going to complain if you give them a healthy dose of the content you promised them and then mention something they can buy. If they click over to the sales letter of your product, then you can go into complete sales mode without complaint because they made the decision to click. If you have a paid e-course, you can put out the segments at any interval that makes sense. Maybe they buy a 7-part email training session with homework that you deliver once a week to give them time to do their homework. You can do whatever makes sense here. You can do a video or audio e-course. This is where they get an email with a little bit of text in it that tells them to click over to a video or audio training session on your website. Now, to deliver your e-course, you need a good sequential autoresponder system. And of course, I use and promote kickstartcart.com. It's a full shopping cart system. I covered shopping cart systems in episode 10, so you might want to listen to that. And I call it a system because it's your shopping cart, affiliate software, broadcast emails, autoresponders, upselling, tracking, and a bunch more all in one place at a very cost-effective price. Okay, so that's broadcast email, folks. This is how you make a fortune online. Yes, we're all into the social media, but all of that stuff and YouTube and everything else is designed to get them the heck off of there onto an email list, and it's going to be that way for a long time. Yes, we have chatbot lists. Yes, we have customer lists and phone number lists and things like that. But email is the way we still, for me, after 25 years, still make the bulk of the money. All right, so if you liked what you hear today, please leave a review over at iTunes. Make sure you check out our next episode, which is 119, Patricia Fripp. She was the first woman president of the National Speakers Association, and she came to this country with nothing and made something really big out of herself. And she's also been to my electronic marketing butt camp 8 times, and she'll tell you what that meant to her. And by the way, if you're listening to this episode when it was first released, Butt Camp is coming up this Saturday, and we're videoing it, so if you don't have to attend in person in Virginia Beach, so we're still in pre-publication or pre-seminar pricing, so you'll save $100 on the videos or attending in person if you get on this right now. You go to screwthecommute.com/buttcamp, screwthecommute.com/buttcamp, and keep your eye out for any military folks that be willing to talk to me so I can get the word out into the community and help our military. All right, we'll catch you later.